Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Ben Matlock.
And I burned through my entire glass of water while we were bullshitting beforehand, so if I'm talking like this by the end, it's because I'm parched.
Live on the Non-Essential Podcast, Steve burns a glass of water.
I'm close enough to Cleve. I'm an Ohio guy. We have burning water up here.
Yeah. That's like flaming shots. Have you ever done this?
No.
Why would you?
Right. Like, just give me my alcohol. That's
one, it tastes like fire anyway. Most of the time. If it's burning, you're there.
There was an alcohol that we used to drink. I think it was just the Bacardi 151, and I hadn't just seen it because I don't drink a lot of rum anymore. And I was just randomly thinking about it like a month or two ago, and I was like, I haven't seen it. And I go to look it up, and it's not on the market anymore. And apparently, they quit selling it like 10 or 15 years ago because of that shit.
This is pure poison.
No, it is, but there's plenty of pure poison out there. It's because it was one of the easier to drink super high proof alcohol, so it was one of the ones that got used for flaming shots all the time, and people kept setting themselves on fucking fire because when you're drunk and you're handed a glass of flammable liquid, you know, it's easy to, if you miss that shot, you pour
it on yourself.
And then it goes up even more. And that kept happening, and people kept trying to sue Bacardi like it's their fucking fault.
In the defense of alcohol, people were setting themselves on fire for fucking TikTok videos. Like,
that's why I hope that it's like kind of like they used that as an excuse and there was really an underlying like, oh, the cost of production was too high or something. Because that's a bullshit, because they kept getting sued, and so they're like, fine, we're not going to make this anymore. But there's still plenty of flammable alcohol. Like, it wasn't an industry-wide thing where they came out and said, you can't sell above this proof. It was just that one popular brand because Bacardi was so... I guess the little caveat there to it when I dug into it a little further was that despite the lawsuits, Bacardi was kind of advertising flaming shots.
Set yourself on fire.
Yeah, I guess that was like the one part. It sounds a little less ridiculous when you find out that they were kind of promoting that kind of behavior.
Bacardi, burn, baby, burn.
But... the weird thing is, like, they quit selling it. People still do flaming shots. Yeah. Like, I imagine people are still setting themselves on fire.
I'm giving it shit here at the start of the show, but I'm like 3 drinks away from being like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it.
Well, I think that's the arcing overall, like, problem with the flaming shots is that you tend to only do them when you have no business being around fire.
Yeah, but like, it's also, you know what? There's something beautiful in getting sloppy shit-faced and putting yourself in harm's way like that. Yeah, it's bad if you put other people in danger, but there is nothing more spiritually fulfilling than knowing you're doing something very bad for yourself.
Well, that's
that could get very worse.
We skipped that whole step. I do remember a few times where we'd be sitting around drinking at parties and then you just start like setting yourself on fire, like directly. Not directly, indirectly, but like that. I remember one time my friend was sitting there, we were out on his back porch or whatever, and drunk off our ass. So we'd been drinking for like 8 hours by that point, you know, college days.
At that point, it's endurance.
Yeah. Right. And he was wearing those shorts that have like that, I don't want to say fringe. That makes it sound like lacy, but you know, like the frayed like finish to the bottom.
A little bit where you pull your dick out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was that point. You know, but he was sitting there, and for whatever, there was just a lighter, I think, for the grill handy because we were out on the porch, and you know, he's just kind of playing with the lighter absentmindedly. And then he like holds it to that fringe to like, I think, to see if it would go up. It fucking goes up.
Yeah. It
was like, you know, newspaper or something, and it wasn't something that was going to like cause him to go to the ER, but it certainly flashed up a lot faster than he expected.
Yeah.
And the like girly scream that came out of him was priceless, especially when you learn the fact that he went on to become a firefighter. He's done that career for like, I don't know, 25 years now. Maybe that's what convinced him to become a firefighter. It's like, if I ever set myself on fire, I got to know how to turn it out.
I want to know what to do.
Although I think he was kind of on that journey already at that point.
Yeah. I don't have anything cool like that, but I do remember one time I was drinking with friends, and one of my friends had a butterfly knife that...
that's a bad...
Well, like, I even sober, I was obsessed with this thing. Flipping it around felt so fucking cool. And, like, I was drunk and I was flipping it around, and it was just a normal night. We were all hanging out and shit, and I don't, remember anything going wrong. And then I woke up the next day and my hand was like scratched to shit. Like it was pretty
so you're drunk and you're thinking like, I'm basically a fucking ninja turtle. You're like,
Jesus Christ, I'm Agent 47 here. Look at me go.
You wake up and you're like, I could have sworn I had 10 fingers.
Yeah, and the next morning is like, I'm like Edward Scissorhands with just one hand.
Yeah. I miss those days, but not really. Like, they were good to have. I don't think I'd survive going back to them again.
I wish I had the fucking strength to do it. I don't know if I would do it again, but now I'm saying I can't.
Right.
Which is a tragedy in its own right. I definitely can't now, because the time this episode comes out, I'll be 31. Today, it will be my birthday when this drops.
Yeah. So happy early birthday.
Happy over the hill ass Ben Matlock here. And as a little birthday gift to myself, it's a Creepypasta day. And this one it's like all of our best ones. I found it literally 1 minute before the show.
Yeah. I would say you pulled a Steve, but I'm
in such like here and at work. I'm ready to be on vacation. I'm taking next week off, which we should say there won't be an episode next week.
Well, there'll be an episode. Yeah, there won't be an episode next week from the week that you're hearing that. I'm confused.
You just say it's Tuesday.
Yes,
it's Tuesday, September 13th. There will not be a show on the 20th.
Fuck, today's Tuesday. I had something I was supposed to do. Oh, no, it was in me. This will be our last ever podcast episode until the next one.
Yeah, until we revive 31. It 1 week later. So yeah, we'll take that week off because I just want to chill for a bit. Isn't that refreshing? No excuses, no like, oh shit, something happened. It's just us being like, we're lazy. It's a really easy show to do, but I need a break.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of jealous, not of the show break, because if you take a show break, I get a show break, but just you getting a week off, because I'm so fucking burnt out already. It's a 4-day week. It should be like, this breezed by. Nope.
Yeah.
Like, things would have been like just hectic and bad at work, like not like bad in the grand scheme of things, but just everything's like been a problem and stressful. And then we get the 3-day weekend. It's like, and then it went right fucking back to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to finish up all my shit at work, and now like I'm getting computer technical problems. Yeah. That means I can't finish my fucking work before I'm out tomorrow.
One of the many things we've been dealing with is like company systems going down, so you can't like the work's already piling up, and then it's like then it comes to a complete halt. It's like, no, for the love of God. Yeah. And then you sound like a real go-getter that wants to get things done. It's like, no, I just don't want to get buried.
So we're all tense and pissed off, so let's all try to unwind with a story called Jack the Ripper Game, which is by a user named Illyrias Acolyte. If I said that wrong, I hope your story is... I hope you win an award. I don't know when this came out. It might be too late for this one, but...
Yeah.
But I'm hoping every creepypasta that's been on our show should win an award.
I like that. See, when you say that, you were in the context of like they do contests or whatever awards, but over time periods. I hear it in the context of like he or she, they might be dead now. It might be too late for like the author that wrote this. Maybe no more.
I hope you win an award posthumously. So Jack the Ripper Game. My favorite thing to do on the internet is those item search games. You know, those ones that give you a list of miscellaneous things like a used match, a flashlight, a lawn chair, a flamingo, a blanket, a coffee cup. Well, if you have to look through this impossibly detailed scene to find them. I think they're known around the internet as hidden object games. There are some pretty good ones, but most of them are just amusing distractions. I pirate them all, because of course you do. I mean, they're all Flash. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
I know, that's the thing. Well, I guess I've seen one that was real popular that you could, like, buy on Steam. I think it was just called Hidden People or something like that, or Hidden Figures. I've never played any of them, but that's the only one I've ever seen that wasn't free anyway.
Yeah. Well, this person's going to define the goddamn video game pirate mentality. I pirate them all because I'm not paying $20 for some glorified and extended Where's Waldo for the PC. And it's like, but you're going to play it?
Because, yeah, you start off with, I love these games as the only things that I want to play. I'm obsessed with them, but I'm not fucking paying for this piece of crap.
My favorite pastime is playing these fucking things that I'm not going to pay $20 for. I don't feel bad. People buy them on the internet, and they should know that most people would pirate their games anyway. That is true. That is a true mentality about stealing shit. Yeah. But it's completely nonsensical. I would respect it so much more if these people were just like, yeah, I'm cheap. I'm a criminal.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Or even you do hear like, I just don't have the money, but I really wanted to experience it. And it's like, I mean, that's still like me saying, like, I can't afford a Ferrari, so I'll just steal one. But at least I can respect that. I mean, they're like, this thing's a piece of crap and it's not worth what they're charging for it, but I want to play it. It's like, well, then it's worth. You know.
I have been broke too. And I'm not putting myself separate. I was a teenager with no money. I downloaded shit all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't for a long time, but I don't necessarily, like, there's a lot of camps on piracy, and if most of my friends haven't paid for a video game or a movie in 30 years, like, they still pirate them all. Yeah. And when they find out that I buy stuff, they act like I'm insane. It's like,
probably.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's a grift in the system, and, if you found it and it works for you, that's fine. Trying to philosophize about it and justify it is just, putting glitter on your nihilism. Like, it's...
Yeah, right.
Anyway, my favorite was this one called The Murders of Jack the Ripper. My mother bought it for me when I was younger. You play Inspector Aberline trying to solve the cases, or a madam named Black Alice if you choose to play as a female, and you play through the investigation, locating all the bodies of the victims, which was not the problem with the Jack the Ripper. That wasn't the mystery. They found the bodies. I don't think...
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's just part they don't talk about, because that was Victorian England. There were probably fucking dead bodies everywhere. And to notice, like, wait, this one was murdered.
Ah, shit. Yeah, there's blood everywhere. God damn it. Yeah. Each crime scene was a hidden object scene, you see. So there were about 20 victims of the murders. Emma Smith, Martha Tabram, Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Kelly, Rose Mylett, Alice Mackenzie, Frances Coles, Marie Sutman, and others.
I feel it was very unnecessary to list names like that and then give up.
And then go others.
Right.
And the rest. Yeah.
Yeah. That's that classic TV joke where they're spelling something and it's like...
Yeah, that's a huge list of names to give up and be like, and everyone else. They were there too.
Yeah, generally if you're going to do like the etc. or... whatever, you list like 2 or 3 names and then
like the most well known.
Yeah. I was really hoping that they were going to list all 20 though, because that would just be anyway.
I don't show. I'm showing my fucking serial killer knowledge rookie card here, but I don't know if there were 20 victims. Like, I would have to look it up.
My understanding, and I'm going to say that like I'm a person that's you've seen more on the Jack the Ripper stuff than I have, but you can't like be alive and watch TV and not like have seen some Jack the Ripper documentaries. Is that there's like a set amount that like everybody agrees was Jack the Ripper, and then there's I think also a handful
a lot of alleged,
yeah, and they weren't sure if they were copycat or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember all of them. It's been about 5 or 6 years since I played it. I used to play it in high school before I got out to college and learned of the internet. How the fuck did you play it before that? Was that in high school?
I like the learned of the internet, like
before I discovered the internet under a rock. I haven't really had time to play them since. This was also in the early 2000s, when the internet was less prominent, and what guides one could find either had to be printed out or saved as a document. I didn't have my own computer until I went to college, which I bought with my graduation money, so I couldn't save any of the guides or the game. During the game, you have to find all the different clues that will lead you to his lair.
Wait. Well, never mind. It probably had like a family computer. I was going to say, like, if he didn't have a computer, then why would his mom buy him a computer game for a present? I assume he meant
there's a lot I don't understand about this. Like, how the fuck did you learn about the internet in college but not in high school?
And I'm curious to the author's age, because they're like, in the early 2000s, the internet wasn't as prominent back then. It was pretty fucking prominent, and you know,
it was picking up steam.
Yeah.
Sure. But I mean, fair enough. I mean, I was not.
I mean, it's definitely different than it is today.
I was watching Homestar Runner back then, and that was what the internet was to me.
Yeah.
Back then, so I'll understand if like this guy didn't really get into it until a little later. During the game, you have to find all the different clues that will lead you to his lair, where he's being tortured by this thing, this giant 6-foot winged creature in a robe. She has white blonde hair covered up by a blue robe, and she has this smile on her face. But it's Jack the Ripper, so that should be fine, right? You know, if he's being tortured,
right?
Then all the right people are being tortured. I can't exactly describe it. It's not too wide, but the more I stared at it, the more uncomfortable I became, and the more the smile seemed to widen. She wears a blue dress that resembles a ball gown, which poofs out at the bottom. Her skin is almost entirely covered by this dress, and I'm not sure exactly how the wings, which must be attached to her back, can exist at all with that dress on. But whatever, it's a video game. The things that she actually does to Jack in the game's final scene change depending on how many secret items you found. They were little artifacts that showed up briefly during the hidden object scenes, like Emma Smith's hairpin or Mary Kelly's garter, stuff like that. And they were completely separate from the 10 objects required to finish a murder scene. Once you found all 10 objects, your chances at getting the secret item were gone forever for that playthrough. There were a few checkpoints at 5 secret items, 10, 15, 20, and the hidden object, 21. No matter how I tried, no matter how hard I looked, I could never find more than 20. I have no idea what it was or who it belonged to. The only other major character missing in the game was Jack, so my guess would be that probably that it was Jack's knife. I went away to college, and that's a very specific, like, could have been a hat, could have been... Jack had a lot of shit.
So, yeah.
And the
Jack's
knife,
Pokemon cards, you
and
know.
if there's one thing we know about Jack the Ripper, the knife wasn't secret. He definitely had a knife. I went away to college and learned how to use the internet. It's a wonderful thing, no? I disagree. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah, it was like one of the worst mistakes.
Case in point, this show.
The atom bomb and then the internet. Those are like the two worst things that have ever happened to...
Yeah. I could be making bread right now if it wasn't for the internet.
Except you wouldn't be able to find a recipe, so...
I wouldn't need a recipe because it would be passed down because we would talk to each other.
Back in my day, we talked to our...
We're so disconnected, man.
It's impersonal.
We've never had more connections, and we've never been further apart. I taught myself the proper way to do Google searches. I'm doing the Google searches, everyone.
Yeah, so now I can't decide if the person writing this is young or, like, super fucking old.
Yeah. I taught myself the way to do the Googles.
When the internet came about back in, I don't fucking remember.
To be fair, they taught themselves. So, you know, my parents didn't do that. And I forgot about the game for a while. I met a girl, got married, danced with my mom at my wedding, walked down the aisle to Pachelbel's Canyon? I don't know where that is. And eventually my wife and I bought a house.
Eventually.
We had some wedding gifts to furnish it, but we had little to no food at the time, so I see where this is going. So I pissed away my time on a video
game, right?
Rather than get us money. We had little to no food at the time and less money, so we would do a lot of shopping at Walmart. This was how I was reminded of the game again. They were selling it in a bargain bin for $5, and I decided, what the hell, I'd get it. Normally I'd buy myself some sort of treat, like a bag of Doritos or a box of gourmet popcorn, but this time I bought myself the game instead. My wife rolled her eyes and muttered something about video games being my other woman, and then she kissed me on the cheek and left me. No.
So this is a guy writing it, clearly,
yeah,
who's never met a woman in his life. Because that's like the most cliche movie, like, man-woman video game interaction.
All right. I guess you love your video games almost as much as you love me.
I'm just joshing you, honey. Enjoy your game.
Oh, yes. And I'll make you a sandwich.
I'll be eating bonbons and painting my nails.
Yeah. I didn't play it immediately when I got home, but tomorrow is my day off. My wife had to go to work at the hospital that night and wouldn't be home again until around 3 a.m. I love when married dudes in real life and characters plan what they're going to do like they're about to have an affair. Like, but literally all they're doing is like, I'm just gonna, fucking play video games and jack off. Yeah. It's like, that's it. It's like, you don't need to coordinate that. It's just when the opportunity strikes, it happens,
Well, I will say that there's been numerous times where Tara's going to be like out of town for either until real late or like overnight, like if she goes visits family and I don't go for whatever reason, where like I'll spend the like 2 or 3 days ahead of time planning like what food I'm going to cook, because I love all sorts of different food, but she's not as picky as some people, but there's a lot of food like shrimp. She hates shrimp, so I never get to eat shrimp. So like one of the times she left, I looked up a new dish like with shrimp and made that. Like, I get very excited about that because it's like I can eat whatever the fuck I want this weekend.
Well, you are a husband, and you are the you are the demographic I am talking about.
Yeah,
where that is like just
it's sad, but it's the things that make you excited once you're in a relationship.
Well, it just makes really mild-mannered things seem super fucking nefarious.
Yeah. Well, except this would be, I guess, a slightly like different kink on that, because I usually tell her like what I'm making because I'm excited about it. So that'd be like her going out of town and be like, "Oh man, this other woman's coming over. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I'll share pictures with you when you get back." Which some couples, that's whatever. But
it rarely works. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Until around 3 a.m., and so I decided to relive. I think it's supposed to be relive. Decided to relive my high school years just a little bit.
I don't know. I think he was doing that first thing on the checklist that you talked about.
Yeah.
He's relieving his high school.
I decided to relieve some pent-up high school stress with my Jack the Ripper game. You fucking psycho.
He realized he didn't buy Jack the Ripper. He bought Jacket and Ripper.
That's more disturbing.
Yeah, that is. That sounds like a very awkward conversation at the ER.
Yeah. I get why you wanted to hide it, dude.
Yeah.
When I booted up the game, I put my name in the game, and it opened to the title screen. It was just the words, "The Murders of Jack the Ripper," scrawled in red font that looked like blood across the top of the screen. $5. Underneath was a dark, foggy alleyway with a mysterious figure walking towards the camera. Pretty standard fare, really, nothing too remarkable. I booted up the game and started on the first level. The first scene played out as I expected. The first murder was of Emma Smith, a prostitute who was murdered in a dingy Whitechapel alleyway. Yeah, this game had you investigating the brutal murders of prostitutes and showed quite a bit more than most casual games can get away with. You can bet it was pretty controversial in the HOG community. I don't know what that is.
The
hog pulling community.
Yeah, that's the thing is people don't realize that hog farmers in particular, not if you're into like grain or dairy or whatever, but hog farmers in their free time sit around and talk about video games and what should and shouldn't be allowed to be displayed. So and the hog community was up in arms.
Yeah, they're pissed. And few copies were made. That's probably why so few people have heard of it. I found Emma's secret item and solved her murder and moved on to the next character. The game proceeded in this fashion for a while, although the murder scenes got more gruesome with each killing. The next notable killing came about 4 entries in, when you find a girl murdered outside of Black Alice's mansion. The blood scrawled across the wall said, "You shall pay for the sins of your forefathers." Below it was the body of Mary Ann Nichols. She had a scarf covering up her neck, and although her clothes were tattered, they were quite detailed. Even as a youngster, I knew that they wouldn't show any blood in the game. What? Like, there's no fucking way. Like,
yeah, it's like, well, this game's about murdered prostitutes.
These are the most gruesome crime scenes, but you're telling me they didn't show blood until 4 murders in?
Inspector, I found her squeaky clean kidneys over here in this alley. No blood.
And in the next Call of Duty game, they write to each other instead of shoot. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I figured that the scarf was probably to cover up where her throat had been cut. It was pretty gruesome for a genre of gaming that was mostly about ghosts and haunted houses. I found all the objects and then proceeded to the dialogue scene, where Inspector Aberline and Black Alice discussed how they would need to track down Jack or die trying. I'm pretty sure Aberline was not as passionate. It's like, read anything about the investigation of Jack the Ripper, it kind of rolled over. I'm not saying he didn't try, but it wasn't like, or I'll put my life on the line.
Who here saw the murders? Nobody? Well, we'll get him next time.
Wait for another letter, then.
He'll slip up one of these days.
Most of the dialogue proceeded in this fashion. It was a hidden object game, and the scripts for those kinds of games were usually pretty generic. They proceeded in this fashion for several more murders, each one requiring me to secure the murder scene by finding 10 items around the bodies. One that was related to the case and 9 others that weren't. Then the game would automatically tell you which one was related to the murder, and it would be shoehorned into the next dialogue scene somehow. One of them was a piece of broken mirror, which identified the victim as Mary Ann Nichols. After a few rounds, you could pretty much tell which items were going to be the special items. When the items you're searching for consisted of a broken chair, a mug, a lighter, a pince-nez, and a bonnet, you can pretty much assume the bonnet is the item in question, and that it will belong to the victim. The next
Why the fuck would you assume that?
Because bonnets in London, mate.
It's a bonnet.
There's a bonnet in it.
It is? Yeah. God, I froze. I couldn't think of any.
There's a bonnet, governor. She done been stabbed in her bonnet.
By Jove.
By the gods. She's been pierced in her bonnet.
I think you should have done the whole story in that kind of voice.
It'll be tough, but I'll give it a shot. The next notable murder was the so-called double event. I can't do it. I'll kill my throat.
Yeah, it was pretty good, though. I enjoyed it.
The Murders of Liz Stride and Catherine Eddowes. It's kind of fun, though. Each player character was sent to one murder scene, so you could only play through one at a time. This was what tripped me up. I always played as Aberline, since I'm a guy. I'm a man's man. An all-or-nothing chap.
I'm a boy. I mean, man. I mean, dude.
Since I'm a guy and didn't want to play as the girl character, so I only saw Black Alice's investigation scene once to get the item. The secret items here were Caroline Eddowes' ring and Liz Stride's pendant. Aberline gets Caroline Eddowes and Black Alice gets Liz Stride's. I did it again this game, solved the case, and continued along the path. Black Alice and Aberline questioned whether this meant the Ripper was slowing down or not, and Black Alice ran to confront her friend, Mary Kelly. You can probably tell where this is going. The characters and story geared up for the climax, and I had to go investigate the murder of Mary Kelly. Mary Kelly's death was always my favorite. Weird way to phrase that.
Yeah.
Big fan. I thought it was a generic spree at first.
But lots of artism, shown in the way they clearly the murder.
The way he cut that bonnet. I have no idea about Jack the Ripper lore. He's a Loch Ness monster here.
History might be the better word there, but
yeah. So all I had to go on was that Johnny Depp movie.
That's probably not the best one.
If you haven't seen From Hell, you'll know more about Jack the Ripper listening to this podcast than you will from watching From Hell.
I thought he was talking about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
That's where I got all my information from.
Jack the Sparrow, killer of women.
Right. Hey, it tracks.
I guess the real Mary Kelly died, even though the one in the movie lived. Hollywood never gets things right. She dies in this game, too, and it was my favorite because she always looked so peaceful. Super fucking weird. This guy's weird.
Yeah. Somebody call the FBI in this fictional character.
It was my favorite one because she looked so happy that I did it. She splayed over the bed looking like she had been poisoned or she died in her sleep. I picked up her garter off the floor, finished the scene, and was about to finish the game. It was then, right before the final scene, when I decided to check my achievements, which is a very gamer thing to do. I gotta check my achievos. The game keeps track of how quickly you solved your murders, and if you can solve a scene under 2 minutes or over 10, it awards you a badge. That's very weird rewards.
Yeah, like you're either really fast or really slow. If you're average,
speed run it or you're dumb as a stump, you get a badge. If you activate a special scene between Black Alice and Mary Kelly, it awards you a badge. I ended up with most of the badges, but I noticed the one I was missing was the secret item achievement, as I only had 19 out of 21. I knew exactly where the last item was. Frank Aberline's notepad was found in Jack's loft after you find Mary Kelly. The final hidden object scene was searching Jack's loft after you find out who he is. Some supporting character whose name is also Jack or something. What a detective this guy is. You found your killer, but damn it, I can't remember his name.
Hey, Jack Roper, do you know anything about this Jack Ripper guy?
I searched on Google for a guide to the game. Curiously, I found very few of them, even though he just said that this game was rare.
Right.
And very little information on the game at all. Nowadays, hidden object games have walkthroughs on the official websites, in case some people are having trouble. It didn't even have an entry on game FAQs. All I was able to find was a message board with some generic tips for hidden object games, like find the objects before the time runs out, or use your hints.
God, I love those kind of websites.
Which were not helpful and kind of insulting. That is true. It's been a while since I've needed a guide for a game, but there are a lot of times where you look shit up and people say like, oh, if you want to find the thing, just go to where the thing is. And it's like, that's what I'm asking you for. God damn it. There was one site that was helpful. It activated Norton's security alarms, but I turned them off because I needed to beat this game. Virus be damned, you know. I turned them off because just about every pirate site I visited set off the damn things. It was a message board that looked suspiciously like game FAQs, but was something else. Most of the people weren't helpful, spewing the same garbage as the rest of the internet, but there was one post that struck my attention. It said the following and nothing else. Do not play this game. If you bought it, return it. If you pirated it, delete it. It doesn't look evil, but it is. I know how that sounds, I really do, but this game is evil. Don't play it. I was struck by how odd this was. Why would someone be this averse to playing a game?
Jeez, have you heard, like, Christian, fundamentalist Christian groups talk about any fucking video
Harry
game?
Potter.
Like, yeah, right.
I'd heard rumors around the internet about things like Ben Drowned and all the various haunted Pokemon cartridges. We'll do Ben Drowned probably on this show someday. It's a classic in the video game creepypasta saga, but that's another story for another time. And I liked some of those stories, but that's all they are. I don't believe for a second that the games are actually haunted. I tried not to think about it anymore. Someone posted below the comment with another. It was almost as short, but it actually told me how to get what I wanted. He said it was obtained by clicking on the hand of the blue angel creature that is not holding the knife. This didn't make much sense, as the creature's other hand is behind her dress, but I thought I'd try it anyway. I booted the game back up and let the scene play out as normal, and the final scene played. Aberline and Black Alice had tracked the Ripper to his hideout, and he was about to be unmasked. Of course, they didn't find him, just an empty apartment. I played through the hidden object scene and got the notebook like usual. Aberline and Black Alice proceeded into the bedroom, where they saw the blue angel creature hunched over Jack's unconscious body. She held the knife in her right hand above her head. The left hand, which was furthest from me, was behind her dress. While the dialogue played, something generic where Aberline and Black Alice talked about how afraid they were of the angel thing, I followed the path the left arm should take down to the hand and clicked. The standard "You have found a secret item" window popped up, and I saw the secret item I had been missing this whole time. The secret item that the game awarded me was Jack's heart. That's sweet.
Yeah. And they don't mean the, like, organ. They mean, like, it's a locket.
True love.
Yeah.
Jack's heart was disturbingly well rendered. For a game that featured nothing but two-dimensional portraits that never moved throughout the entire game, having a realistic rendering of a heart that was actually beating made me feel a little uncomfortable. The blood from the heart dripped down over the text and the OK button for the dialogue. After I accepted it, the game showed me a black and white photo of a woman lying dead under a sheet. Her head was facing towards me, and her nose and breasts had been cut off. Her leg had been cut open, and the sheet was dark with what I assumed to be blood. Or what? Coffee? Fuck.
I was thinking Hershey's chocolate syrup.
Jesus Christ. For a guy playing a game about murders, he's very naive about murder.
This didn't look peaceful at all. What the hell?
It was incredibly unnerving. It stayed open for an uncomfortable amount of time. After that image faded from the screen, Jack was on screen with the blue angel creature. She was holding the knife that he used to kill his victims, and the image showed her about to lower it down into him. Jack was looking directly at me, a look of abject terror on his face. He seemed to be pleading for help. The screen cut to black. I stared at it for a good 10 minutes, not knowing what was going on, but I did know one thing. I was shaken. I began to do some research on Jack the Ripper, and by that I mean I Googled his name.
Because I taught myself how to Google.
I taught myself to Google.
That's circling around.
Hours of research typing in letter by letter into the search bar. He only had 5 official victims. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The rest are suspect. Since this game had about much more victims than 5, it's a weird sentence. It must have used some. Yeah, I reckon about much more than 5.
Even
so 5.
I've mentioned 13 times at this point that there was 20 victims, but since they had about more than 5,
since the game had about much more merrier than 2, it must have used some of the non-canonical victims, as they're called. It's not a Marvel movie.
Or they made stuff up, because shockingly you can do that when creating entertainment.
Totally. It's a video game. You have to... And it's a video game where you're just clicking on pictures. They had to stretch it. As they're called, I found out a lot of interesting things. Like that, about half of the victims were invented solely for the game, but many of them were murders that were often connected to Jack, even though nothing could be proved. Black Alice was also a totally original character, probably made to appease feminists or appeal to gamer girls or something.
Because that was a big hot topic back in like the early 2000s, late 90s, when you said this game originated.
This is some feminist bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
You can't just make up a character for a video game.
You come on to my website, GameBro.com, and fill out the petition to get the gamer girl out of my Jack the Ripper game that only me and 2 people played.
Hidden Objects game should be male.
Yeah. This is guy time. My wife's out. Why do I have a fucking girl on the game?
I'm supposed to believe a woman could find hidden objects? Yeah.
Why don't you leave this case to the men, ladies? You know, the 5 men who couldn't solve the case. I had to play through the game again. It would take me another 3 or 4 hours, and my wife would need to sleep when she got home. But I couldn't stop. How hard are you clicking, dude?
Well, and...
Like, are you frothing at the mouth?
Maybe it's because we're both completely, like... not familiar with the hidden object game genre, but like once you find a hidden object, it's like the Where's Waldo. I like to read Where's Waldo books. Once you find Waldo, it's very easy to find him a second time because he's in the same fucking place. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't really get the appeal. Like, there's no replay value to this to me.
I'm the only thing I'm wondering is if they in general like maybe shuffle the up, like they're not in the same place every time. But still, it sounds boring to replay. But
yeah. We're giving these made-up developers a lot of credit for what seems like a cash grab Jack the Ripper thing. I had the sudden desire to play through the game one more time. I don't know why, but I had this feeling that something different would happen this time. If I played through the game again after getting all the secret items, I felt like something else would happen. I couldn't be sure what it was, but the feeling was stronger than anything I'd ever felt in my life. This dude got married. I would assume he was in love, but it has nothing compared to this.
But this game that's not worth $20.
Honey, from the moment I met you, you kind of reminded me of a game I played in college. Kind of.
You can get that game right here for $10. Fuck that. Yeah. Well, it's on sale for $5.
Turns out the wife was right to be like, hey, you other woman.
Yeah.
I booted up the game, and right away I knew something was different. The game was now called The Murder of Jack the Ripper instead of Murders, plural. The font color was now green, and it was now in a smoother cursive font instead of the angular, jagged letters I remember. The title screen no longer showed the shadowy figure walking through the mist, but rather the side character who turned out to be the Ripper kneeling before an altar in prayer. He looked incredibly disturbed. I clicked on the new game option and started playing. The game opened with the investigation of Emma Smith's body, but this time I could see quite a bit more of her. Her torso had been sliced open, her eyes gouged out, and her tongue split in half.
Wait, is that what killing people is?
What? It's a dead guy.
The murderer nicknamed the Ripper was violent?
Yeah.
I thought he just farted a lot.
Now, hang on. You're telling me they didn't enjoy this?
Hey, we didn't say that. Maybe they were into it.
Instead of finding generic items like matches and statuettes, I had to find her organs, her small intestine, her dismembered nose, eyeballs, and several fingers replaced the harmless items from before. After the murder, Black Alice and Aberline appeared on the screen once more. Instead of the generic dialogue they used to have upon meeting each other, she told him that the Ripper was probably too smart for him to catch. Well, that's true to history.
That's fair, yeah.
I knew the ending was supposed to change if you got all 21 secret items, but not this. The next 4 murders got more and more graphic like before, but this time Emma Smith had set the bar much, much higher. I still had to find the pieces of the victim's body, but they had escalated to decapitated heads and whole arms instead. By the time Mary Ann Nichols came around, her neck was no longer covered by a scarf. I could see the cut on her throat that had killed her. She was lying in a pool of her own blood. Her clothes were soaked in it, and they were even more tattered than I remembered. I still had to find the shard of the mirror that belonged to the victim, although there was no secret item to collect this time. Instead of talking about how they were going to track down Jack or die trying, Aberline and Black Alice were shown kissing. She asked him about his wife, and he told her not to worry about his wife. This game got fucking hot and heavy.
Yeah.
I shifted.
Yeah. The title now says "The Murder of Jack, the fucking little snitch."
All right, gamer bros, you see why we added Black Alice to this shit? Can you calm down now? There's a reason for everything. I shifted in my seat. Aberline's back was to the screen, and Black Alice was facing me. The smile on her face looked too wide to be real. She was holding him around his waist and was squeezing him a little too tight. Like, what, his head was going to pop off? Or...
Well, if you're doing it right.
Yeah, that's true. Waiting for Aberline to go, awooga. I couldn't stop playing this game. I had to see how it would end. I had to see what this new information was all leading to. The game kept proceeding until the double event, but this time the bodies were both investigated by Aberline. Black Alice was nowhere to be seen. Both women were mutilated beyond belief and resembled the autopsy photos I found while doing research on the real Jack the Ripper with frightening detail. Long Liz's...
It's almost as if the developers could look up the same photos that I Googled.
And copied it, yeah.
Right.
Long Liz's neck was slit from ear to ear, and Catherine Eddowes' body was eviscerated. Her intestines were strewn over her shoulders, and something that could only be fecal matter ran down her legs and pulled beneath her along with the blood. My vision began to swim in front of me, and I felt woozy. I put my head between my legs for a moment and took several deep breaths. This was getting far too intense, but I was afraid of stopping. I had to see it through to the end. I wasn't even sure why anymore. This had become about far more than seeing a silly secret ending to a hidden objects game. I had to keep going, but I had no idea why. Mary Kelly was the absolute worst. Her face was hacked apart so much that it didn't even look like a face anymore. Her throat had been cut. Her breasts had been sliced off. One was placed neatly next to her head, the other right down by her right foot. Her innards had been completely emptied from her body and strewn around the bed at various places. A long cut ran up her leg, and blood had clearly been pouring out for quite a while. Black Alice was kneeling beside her, presumably weeping. I'm going to just say that you probably could have cut out the first playthrough of this story.
Yeah. That was going to be one of my critiques, kind of. We'll get to that here.
Because you've already established the game a little bit. So, like, you finding a cheap-ass copy and it being haunted, you could just jump into this.
Right.
This was the point I lost myself completely. I vomited all over the rug. I even shit myself. No.
Nearly shit myself.
Thank shit. You. My wife still had not come home. I had no idea what time it was. All I knew was that I felt sick, and hopefully if I could get through this last level, I could figure out what happens at the end and finally
I was
put
so
this
disgusted I puked
me.
all over myself, but I had to keep playing.
I have the same relationship with VR games.
Fucking Cuphead.
I didn't vomit from Cuphead.
Yeah, I thought you'd like rage vomited, I assumed.
I mean, that was the profanity coming out.
Yeah.
It just sounded like vomiting.
Fucking
I played through the rest of the game and finally showed up at the final scene, the confrontation with Jack. Instead of finding an empty apartment, Aberline and Black Alice found him in his apartment already. A long, thin track ran down each of his arms, and the blood from them had clotted over. He had been dead for quite a while. There was no sign of the Blue Angel creature. Black Alice went and picked the knife up from his corpse and told Aberline that the investigation was over. She pocketed the knife and left. Aberline was left looking very confused. I shared Aberline's confusion. What in the actual fuck had I just watched? What happened to that creature I remembered the last dozen times I played? Why was everything so radically different, and what changed it? What was going on? After the credits rolled, it allowed me to start at bonus level.
Bonus.
Welcome to bonus stage. Jesus Christ. I played as Black Alice through the final murder scene. This time I was investigating the murder of a prominent businessman whom she suspected had paid the Ripper to commit the murders. He was nailed to the wall with iron spikes through his wrists and ankles. Once I found 9 of the items, I noticed a scalpel sitting underneath the table next to Jack's body. I picked it up. A dialogue box flashed across the screen that said, "You have found a secret item." The image was of the scalpel I had picked up, and the text underneath said, "Black Alice's scalpel." The screen switched to a new image without letting me finish the scene. Black Alice stood in front of the businessman holding a hammer in her hand. What about the scalpel? Where'd the hammer come from?
Some fucker stole my scalpel. I'm going to have to use a hammer now.
Pick a damn murder weapon, please. She held a pair of nails in the other hand, the same kind that were in the man's wrists. She was smirking, and she drove the final nail into his ankles. There was a knock at the door. I jumped and screamed at the top of my lungs. It was only my wife, home from the hospital at last.
Is it normal to knock on your own door when you get home? Because I don't.
It depends, like, what room you're going into.
That's true.
I mean, he made it clear, I'm going to be busy until 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's true.
Or whatever.
I could have been playing video games.
Don't come in.
No,
I'm cranking.
Cranking.
She was smirking, and she drove the final nail into his ankles. There was a knock at the door. I jumped. It was only my wife. Home from the hospital at last. I looked back to the screen, hoping to see the ending, but all it showed was Black Alice's scalpel. It was at that point that I just turned the game off and shoved it in a drawer. I couldn't look at it anymore. I tried not to think about it, but I can't get the image of that final murder scene out of my head. I can't get rid of the images. I can't. The end. So, I've been wanting to do a video game creepypasta for a while. When we first started doing them, I wanted to do some of them because they are surprisingly detailed for like the silliness of like a lot of them are literally as blatant as like I was playing Sonic, but there was something weird about Sonic. He was covered in blood, but not cartoon or pixel blood, like real blood, but it was still 2D Sonic.
Right.
You know, and that stuff is always really amusing to me. Like I said, you could pace this a lot better.
Yeah. One of the keys to horror, and I'm saying this as a person that just even only slightly knows the genre, is like to build tension, and they spent the first 2/3 just describing playing a video game. Like, there were no hints that something was going to be... If you didn't know it was a creepypasta, you wouldn't know that something like strange was supposed to even be coming. Like, you'd be like, this is just a journal entry of a dude playing an old video game. And then maybe that build-up is hard to do when the payoff is just like, this game had a second ending, and I can't forget it.
Fucked up ending, man. I think the bigger gripe I probably have with the whole story is more from the idea of like you're doing something about Jack the Ripper, and what you do as an alternative is not scarier than Jack the Ripper. You know, like,
yeah, I mean,
the demon monster and stuff. It's like Jack is your villain if you're doing something with that as your motive. You know,
yeah, and I kind of only read that as like, oh, well, in this game, the woman turns out to basically be the real bad guy. It's like, how is that shaking you to your core? This is a thing called fiction. Like, every movie does that. Every TV show, every game does. Like, it's not like, oh, it caught me off guard because was she the killer? It's like, who knows? It's a game. It could have been fucking Alf. Yeah. Like.
I just think it's tough to, and I get kind of what they were trying to do, trying to subvert that expectation of like, because you do expect Jack to be the monster,
sure,
which he is, but they kind of be like, hey, there's a bigger monster here. So I understand that, but then you have to establish like a whole new villain.
Well, you have to also like tie it into. Like, at no point is this character or anybody he knows or anybody in the real world in any real danger. He basically just describes watching a gory movie.
Yeah. But he can't get the images out of his head, man.
Yeah, so it's like the real naive kid that grew up never watching anything but Teletubbies sees Saw 3, and he's like, I can't unsee that. And I get, for some people, I don't particularly like graphic horror, but it doesn't turn that into a creepypasta.
I mean, it does, because creepypastas can be whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I mean, your creepypasta could just be like describing your breakfast, I guess, if you wanted. Yeah. But yeah, it's weird. There was just no real payoff and a whole lot of like unnecessary buildup.
Yeah, it felt rushed at the end, kind of. It felt like something was meant to happen at the end there that never totally
did. Yeah, like I said, I was expecting it to cross over into the real world. Like he finds out like his wife is found murdered, or
from some random message board that's like, it's pure evil, don't play it. But it doesn't. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be
gory. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to like tease like the narrator went insane or what.
And that might have been.
That's my best guess.
Kind of just by the way that it kind of repeats that I can't get the image out of my head a couple times towards the end. So it sounds like it's like he loses sanity, or like he like literally can't focus on anything else. Yeah. But that's a weird result too to get when it basically the game he's like, it went from depicting a bonnet to depicting the actual crime scenes that like we all know that Jack the Ripper's victims, you know, He wasn't Jack the gentleman killer. He was Jack the fucking Ripper. Like, it's just weird to me to be shocked by the graphicness of a game that's about Jack the Ripper. But I will say, one thing I'll give it in the positive is, for some reason, I'm kind of curious about hidden object games now. I kind of want to go play one.
It's opened my world to a whole new genre of clicking on photographs.
We'll find out that this author, that's all they own, a game dev company that just makes hidden. This is more an advertisement. He's like, I hope this story gets people interested. And now that I said that, he'll be sitting there going, yes.
I was engaged reading it. Like, I think, well, that's what I mean. Is sometimes I do think, like, you know, you could cut a lot out, but I do think there's something to, you know, like they did a pretty damn okay job painting the picture of what they were playing, which isn't always easy to do. I know it sounds easy because it's like, oh, he's playing a game where you point and click, but you know, read some more of these. They're tough. But yeah, I just feel like there was something meant to happen at the end there that didn't quite get fleshed out.
Yeah, it definitely needs something, and I really think that the something that it needed was your British accent, like that. When you hit that, then it became my favorite creepypasta we'd ever done. But yeah, that would take some practice.
If they were English, it would fit. The problem, I was gonna bring it back out, but there was no like dialogue.
Yeah,
like nobody said anything in the game, and that would have been the time to pull it out. Where the Ripper's like, I done bopped her, governor.
Done bopped. I love that, because that could mean a couple different things that are wildly, wildly different.
That was the tone of, like, Jack the Ripper's letters in real life. Like, they were really, like, stupid and, like, jolly. It was like, yeah, it's just like, you flatfoots won't catch me, you dumb crickets. Yeah, it's like, it's really fucking stupid.
Yeah, so...
How the fuck did we not catch him? God damn it.
Well, we've had a lot of episodes that I think talk about how bad we are as a species at investigating the most obvious of, like, killers.
Yeah.
Like,
he set up that serial killer thing of going after, he wasn't the first to do it, but, like, you know, going after prostitutes, people who were marginalized by society. So, like, you could do shit like that, and there was you were completely anonymous.
Yeah, and like you said, it would be unfair to say, like, oh, they didn't care or they didn't investigate it, because they did, certainly.
It was a huge story, but it was just like,
how
many people around those murders actually gave a fuck? What could you investigate? Really, because it's just like, it's a fucked up crime scene.
And that's the terrifying thing, too. When you pick those kind of victims and you pick them at random, we've talked about, like, half of catching serial killers, it comes back to being able to, like, draw some connections. So if you're really good at killing at random, especially back then when they didn't have, like, security cameras to, like, consult and DNA and that kind of stuff, it was mostly just, like... Yeah. And even that said, they probably questioned the actual Jack the Ripper like 80 times and just were like, eh.
I mean, there's theories. There's tons of theories. There are people dead certain they know who he was. But it's you can't prove it.
Right.
So, yeah. And that's kind of what I mean. I guess to me it's like, as a fucking lunatic who watches way too many of these documentaries, this story was always going to have a handicap for me because of that, where it's the actual fucking story of Jack the Ripper is way more dark and troubling and fear-inducing to me than pretty much whatever you could come up with about centered around it as far as, like, a fiction.
Yeah, the only thing that I've seen, and I don't know if it was supposed to really even be Jack the Ripper. I can't remember. I don't think so. I think it was just kind of going that vibe. But did you ever watch the mini-series, The Alienist?
No.
It had, I don't know, a couple of people. It was about a psychiatrist. They called him, back when they called him alienists, and nobody, like, you know, it was like the frou-frou science, you know, nobody, like, took it real seriously. And he was basically doing the criminal profile on a serial killer. And a lot of the killings were very similar to Jack the Ripper type killings. But I forget the big payoff. And I don't think it was supposed to be Jack the Ripper. But it was very much like that's where they took inspiration from. And they made it pretty dark. But one of the ways they did it was the easiest, cheesiest way. Well, not cheesiest, but the easiest way possible to play with the emotions is a lot of the victims were children. Instead of prostitutes. Now, they were homeless children and stuff. They still played that angle. But you could argue it made it even, like, darker, or at least properly conveyed the darkness. But yeah, it's like starting with Godzilla and then, like, trying to make that even about a bigger monster. It's like, well, at some point it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really iconic, you know, visual, and it's tough to capitalize on it in fiction, I think.
Although, I mean,
but I think they did do a good job of, like, it is believable to me that a, like, fucking point and click flash game would try to be like, a demon is overruling all of this.
Well, in these kind of little games, like, it's very believable too that they would, like. Well, I get the point. It's supposed to be like probably supernatural, but I could see a small, like almost an indie type dev on a game that's not being mass published putting pretty shocking like hidden content into their game, because that's been done before.
Yeah.
I do like the idea. I don't know if they pulled it as like if this is a real thing or if they kind of just imagined it. Like, so as far as hidden object games go, one centered around like investigating Jack the Ripper killings. That's actually a pretty cool idea for a game. As exciting as a hidden object game can be. I keep picturing more of, because what I would like, and I'm sure there's something out there, or at least in the vein, not hidden object games, but like the old school LucasArts, like Monkey Island, Indiana Jones, those point and click adventure games instead of hidden object games.
Yeah.
But we're not a video game podcast, and I don't know.
We are today.
Yeah.
Just like our video game podcast, we're over an hour.
Yeah.
Enjoy this extra long episode to hold you over for the week we'll be off.
And I'm going to rate that story a C+ out of 30.
I'm going to give that story 2 thumbs up because I didn't have to work for it.
We'll bring it back up on the game, the Creepypasta game of the year.
That's the truth. I haven't had a Creepypasta on this show I didn't absolutely love because I hate coming up with shit.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't hate it. It wasn't the worst we did. It does. There's some valid complaints there, but
let me give me time, because like I said, there's a lot of video game creepypastas out there, and I will find one where by the end you're like, "What the fuck was that?"
I look forward to it, but work on extending the amount of British accent you can do before you completely tear out your...
I'll create a character next week, or the week after, where it's Ben the Baba. And so thanks for listening to the show this week, and we'll be back after our time off.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Toodles.
And that's the end of the show.